Hey everyone, I'm Scott with Mobile and 5 to 10 Minutes. Today we are going to look at UITableView and how to implement it with storyboards. UITableView is one of the most commonly used controls in iOS, allowing the user choice selections in a scrollable vertical list. Apple has made UITableView very memory efficient and extremely to implement in your apps. Before we jump in, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel below so that we can bring you more content. And if you have any questions, please post. We would be happy to address any questions. Also included in the description of this video are links to Apple's documentation where you can read more about UITableView. Let's take a look at UITableView in an app. The first thing about UITableView is that it's derived from UI scroll view. This means that it is by default a view that is scrollable. The views that are contained in UITableView is a linear collection of UITableViewCells. UITableView was made to be efficient memory-wise with its UITableViewCells. It creates a queue first in first out of UITableViewCells and reuses those cells when they're scrolled out of its UITableView. I'll show later on how it does this and how you can create a memory efficient app, especially if you're displaying a large number of items in your UITableView. By default, UITableViewCells come with a layout that's already defined. If you wish to create your own custom cells layout, you can, and I will address those in a later video. The default UITableViewCells come with an icon, a title, and a detail title. As you can see here, I've coded up 3 different types. I will show you how you can implement each one. Okay, so I've created a project. I've just named it TableView, and it's a single view application. And I'm going to jump in and show you how to add to a storyboard a list control, and also I've included in the assets here real quick just a Swift image that we can use to populate the default icon on our UITableViewCells as mentioned before. So let's jump into our main storyboard here. So I'm going to pull up all of our controls here, and I'm going to actually select a table view. I'm going to drag it over and drop it into our view. I'm just going to resize it just to match the screen. Currently, I'm not worried about constraints or anything like that. That'll be another video, hopefully, that you'll watch. And the other thing that I'm going to do here too, as well, is create a table view cell and pull that over into our table view. Drop it in there. So now we've got a prototype cell. Now we need to name this cell, and so if you look in the table view cell and the cell identifier, I'm going to just call this cell, but you do need to name it just so that when you dequeue the cell for memory management, you actually dequeue the proper cell. So and the style that we're going to use is just the subtitle, which means that is you know, the title, the subtitle, and also an icon if you need it. Now you can set an image here, but we're going to do it programmatically just so that I can show you the different ways of doing things. So let's jump into our view controller. So the other thing that we need to also do here is we need to make our view controller a UITableView data source. Now once we do that, we should get a warning from our Xcode editor that says, hey, we haven't implemented this protocol entirely, so we're going to go ahead and fix that real quick. And here are 2 functions that need to be defined. So I'll make this a little bit cleaner here, and let's go there. For purposes of our examples right here, we're going to tell it that we need 50 rows in our first selection, but I'll show you how we can tie in you know, some data into that here towards the end of the video. And the second thing we need to do is actually define the cell and what it looks like. So what happens is that as a data source, when the UITableView comes up and appears or is scrolled, it actually asks the protocol UITableViewDataSource, hey, how many rows do I have in my table view, and also for each cell, what is it going to look like? And so that's what this method is for, cell for row at, and it's going to take in an index path for that. So let's go back to our storyboard though, because there's a main thing that we need to do is we need to right click on our table view here and say, hey, wait a second, our data source is actually going to be this view controller. This is where we're going to obtain all the data for this table view. So I have selected that and placed that in there, and it is now our data source. So let's go back to the code here real quick. We'll go into our view controller. So the first thing that I mentioned is that for memory efficiency, as you do scrolling and everything, the UI table view will actually reuse cells that are scrolled out of the view. And the reason for that is for large table views and everything, they may be a big memory hog, and so by reusing them, we can actually make our application very memory efficient. So by doing this, we hit our table view, and then we're going to ask to dequeue a reusable cell. And the nice thing now is that dequeue reusable cell is always guaranteed to return a table view cell. So that was a nice addition with Swift. So let's see here. Now this identifier here is the one that we actually called our main storyboard prototype cell. So when we set that identifier to cell, or whatever name that you want to call it, this is what we're going to dequeue actually. And let's go ahead and put that in there. And then for index path, we will just put in there index path. So now that we have a cell, we need to actually return the cell. That's what the method is asking for. And let's go ahead and populate this cell with some data here. Cell, and we will say the text label, and dot text is equal to, and I am actually going to give it the cell name here, or this cell number, index path dot row. So let's go ahead and compile that real quick and run it in our application, and we should get a table view with 50 table view cells that are displayed. And we only have 10. No, as we scroll up and down with this, and like I said, we don't have constraints or anything like that set. You can see that we're going to get 50 different cells here. And you can see that there's also a subtitle here. So subtitle wasn't set. Let's go ahead and set a subtitle for that. So cell dot detail text label dot text is equal to, and we will put this as detail text for row, and then again, I'll just go ahead and put some unique identifier, which is the index path row number there. Run that again, and you'll see that the detail text label has now appeared with this text formatted right here. Detail text row for 1 through 10. So we can scroll through there and see the same thing. Last, with our default cells, we can also set an icon to as well, and that's incredibly easy to do. So all we have to do is just go cell image view dot image is equal to, and we'll do a UI image, and just in it, and then we will give it what our asset is here, and let me call this a Swift image. There we go. And we'll go jump back to our So we should see our cells come up with a text label, a detailed text label, and also an image, which is that asset that we had placed in there. And here we go. So as you can see, implementing a UI table view is incredibly easy. The default cells get you pretty much 90% of what you need, unless you need a custom cell for displaying, say like images that are larger or anything like that. So I hope you like this video. If you have any questions on UI Table View, please go ahead and write a question or anything like that. Be glad to help you out with anything. Thanks for watching.